So, my name's Ellie Milan, and I'm the founding owner of Milan Art Institute, and this is my daughter, Dimitra Milan.
Hi everybody. I've just been a professional artist since I was 15, and I also teach at Milan Art Institute, and we teach the mastery program together. And we're super excited about this webinar and all the things we have to share with you.
And the interesting thing is, just this week in the mastery program, we were teaching on resistance. And I don't know if you've read the book yet, The War of Art. It's a fantastic book for anybody who's creative, for anybody who wants to do anything worthwhile in their life. What happens is you hit a lot of resistance. And so, ironically, I think to put this webinar together, we have hit so much resistance.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So we're like totally believing it's going to be incredible, and it's going to be really great, and we're going to connect with some really great people and hopefully inspire you and teach you and show you some really cool stuff with portrait painting, and hopefully take your art to that next level where you know, you're going to come away from this webinar just really excited, really inspired. So Dimitra, why don't you tell them some things that we're gonna teach?
Okay, so we are going to talk about how to draw the portrait and how to draw it realistically with angular lines, and to help you paint and draw something that's more realistic and not cartoony, and what to avoid when you're drawing. And also we're doing an acrylic underpainting, so I'll be doing a demonstration, and we're actually both going to be painting on this. So I'll do an acrylic underpainting, and then she's going to do some oil, and we're going to talk about skin tones, how to mix color and flesh tones, and also we're going to be talking about brush strokes and how brush strokes are what you want to go for and not blend and smooth everything. And then we're going to answer questions, and then at the end we have 2 great surprises for you.
Yeah, and also this this webinar is live interactive, so you're seeing us in real time. We're seeing you. Well, we're not seeing you. We're looking at your comments in real time. So tell us where you're from and introduce yourselves to us. We'd love to know more about you. Feel free, you know, ask questions, and so yeah, we invite you to be a part of it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Milan Art Institute. We opened the school about 10 years ago, and have been teaching artists ever since, and we've really grown over the years. And just this year we launched an online program, which is fantastic. We are so inspired, and we're so loving what we get to do with that. We get to teach students from all over the world, and we thankfully to technology, which usually we get right, you know, we're able to do that, so we're really excited. Our main bent at our school is helping artists who have a passion for art to become professionals and be able to live out their dream and really do what they love for a living. And that is both Dimitra and I's passion, really, is to help artists fulfill their dreams and become professional artists. Our school also really focuses on a traditional sort of foundation and rooted in the old masters and real, you know, traditional type teaching. But then we also have a lot of contemporary things and mixed media and a lot of innovation. There's a lot of techniques that my husband and I, John, we've made up over the years. Dimitra's made up through our experience painting. So we have a lot of techniques that we teach that we feel like just originate from us. Today what we're teaching, we're kind of combining some of that old, you know, traditional stuff with the contemporary. So we're really excited, and let's see. I guess we should just get right to it, huh? And
Yeah.
start.
Okay, well, we already started with a drawing, and you want to talk about the sources?
Yeah, I'll talk about that while you're painting.
So we made this source, and this is my sister that we're painting. And
Beautiful Dahlia.
yeah, so we started with a drawing, and all this color that you see I did with mixed media markers and crayons, and then I sprayed it with a fixative. So this is just the base layer, and I like to have that kind of underpainting just for the first layer. And so today, so that we can do, just show you different things, I'm going to do an acrylic underpainting, which normally I do with oils, but you can also do an acrylic. So I'm going to mix.
And the advantage of using acrylic is it will obviously dry quickly.
Yeah.
So to do an oil underpainting, we couldn't really do that in a webinar situation because it would be wet. So we're using acrylic, and actually I do most of my underpaintings with acrylic anyway. What do you do? Do you mostly do acrylic or oil, or kind of a mix?
I kind of do a mix. Sometimes I do like inks for an underpainting, and then I go to oils, but I just really love painting with oils, so usually that's how I start. But
wow, we have somebody watching from China. That is so cool.
Wow. Yeah, from all over. And I'm mixing retarder with this, so it slows the drying a little bit, but it just makes it like easier to spread and use.
Let me get this out of your way.
Yeah, I'm using just a spray bottle with water. So I'm just gonna like stain the canvas, and I'm going to subtract all the highlights that I see.
There's Q-tips there if you want. So while she's painting, and you'll be able to see some close-ups and different things while she's painting, I'm going to talk to you about setting up your source, taking your own photos, and how do you choose a portrait source to begin with. And there's this idea that we teach in our school that there's kind of a difference between portrait painting, where it's true portraiture, and you're really, the goal is to catch the likeness of that person and make it look just like that person. So sometimes you might get a commission, or you might want to do a portrait for a loved one, and you really want it to get the likeness of that person. Most of the time, how that's achieved is getting a photo source of that person, or painting from life, where the lighting is cast across their face at sort of a 45-degree angle, and then you have that Rembrandt lighting where the nose casts a shadow, creating that triangle on the cheek. So this is a real classic way, and what that light does is it starts to render the form for you, and all the pattern of lights and darks, and the proportion, meaning the distance and the proportion from each of those things, is what's going to give it the likeness of the person. So even if you have the shape of the eyes, off a little bit, or the shape of the nose, if the distance of the nose to the mouth to the eyes and everything is in proportion, it's going to look a lot like the person. But then there's another kind of portrait, which is mostly what Dimitra and I do in art. And if you're making more fine art that is appealing to a wide audience, then you don't really want your portraits to look specifically like a specific person, meaning that if you're selling your artwork, there's people that don't want to like live with a stranger in the room, or feel like they're living with somebody very specific, or oh, that reminds me of my second grade teacher. You want the portrait to kind of transcend it looking like a specific person and looking more like a symbol. And so there's some tricks to that. So again, we're talking kind of about two different types of portraiture. One that is specific to the person and it's a true portrait, and the other where you're making more of a statement, or there's a voice in your painting, and it transcends portraiture, and it just it kind of becomes a symbol. So in this picture of Dahlia, it is my daughter, it is a specific person, but the look that she has, can I borrow this?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to just, I don't know, wing it. So if you look at this, she's looking sort of through the camera. So when the model looks right at the camera, and it's this very specific gaze, then it's going to look a little bit more like a portrait. But if the model is kind of looking beyond the camera or past the camera, it's going to sort of transcend that portrait look, and it'll start to look like a symbol. Also, how how the gestures, there has to be a little bit of a voice to the picture. So I feel like this picture of Dahlia has a strong voice to it. It has kind of an attitude or a certain look to it. It doesn't look like, you know, she's posing for the camera. It looks like there's a story going on. And then of course adding adding the moths to it. Here, I'll give that back so we don't want you to mess it up. So adding the moths to it, is she in the way? You have to move to the side so the camera can see it. So adding the moths to it kind of begins to make it have a little bit of a story. So you also want to look for models or look for photos where people have sort of a generic beauty or a generic, I'm not saying Dahlia is generic, I'm just saying in that picture it sort of represents a little bit of a generic beauty versus a specific beauty. Sometimes if they have a very unique and singular type nose or mouth, it's going to look like a specific person instead of kind of generic beauty. So a lot of times if you look on Pinterest or you look on the internet and you find like true models that actually do it professionally for a living, and you look for ones that are looking off or through the camera, they will probably most often have that generic beauty rather than having your sister pose or something like that. So those are just a few tricks to explain and kind of think about that idea of a specific portrait versus a symbol. So to make it look like a symbol, there has to be something beyond just the facial features. It has to kind of tell a story. It has to start to have a real strong voice to it. Let's see, how's it going over there? Are you waiting for things to dry?
Yeah, pretty close to being done. But you want this more transparent, right?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
I'm gonna glaze in oil for a little bit as soon as this is dry, and then I'll do opaques, and then Dimitra is gonna do opaques.
Yeah, just finish it.
Why don't you tell everybody, like, how do you choose a source and what do you look for?
Well, I think what you're saying about generic beauty and like a specific, because there's a lot of people that maybe you want to paint, like maybe your friends, but they have like a very specific look to them, and so for paintings it doesn't translate as well because people will notice that it's not really a symbol. So when you're painting and you're choosing sources, like I do look for just models that are like online, and sometimes I contact them and ask if I can use their photos. Other times it's really fun to set up your own photo shoot with a model, and then you can control the lighting and take tons of photos and just pose them the way you want. And I found that is the best way. You can't always do that, and it's difficult to find like the right look and the right model for you, but the times that I have done it, it's really worked out great.
Also, a lot of people ask us all the time, what are the rules about taking a source or a photograph off the internet or finding one on Pinterest and then painting it. And so I'm going to tell you what the legal rules are, and then what the ethical, or what I believe the ethical rules are, and then really it's up to you. It's an individual choice. So legally speaking, if you were to take a photograph from a photographer, even a famous photographer, and you were to replicate it in paint, even if you copied it exactly to the T, because it's a painting and it's not a photograph, it is legally totally fine. Nobody can sue you. You're not violating any kind of copyrights. You're not, so it has to translate medium to medium, meaning if I took a photograph of a photograph and then passed it off as my photograph, that would be a complete violation legally. But turning it into a painting, or if a photographer turned a painting into a photograph, then they're legally allowed to do it. We've had people take pictures of our artwork and print it on a piece of furniture, and because it became a piece of furniture, it is totally legally okay, and they didn't have to pay us any kind of royalties. Can you imagine that? But that's the law. Wow. But that is not ethical. Okay, so if you want to be respected as an artist and sort of people to view your art as truly your art, then don't copy other people's voice. So if a photographer has this incredible voice that's coming through, and they planned the photo just so, and the way that the model is holding themselves, and you don't add anything to it, and you don't change the voice at all, and you don't, you just basically replicate it, but in oil paint, I feel like that's unethical. I feel like you've stolen the photographer's voice. And a good rule of thumb is that if you were to have a gallery show and your painting was in the gallery and the photographer came to your art show, what would you be embarrassed? Would you kind of, want to avoid the photographer? Would he recognize his own photo? So if you just used it as a source, but you completely changed it, or you added other things to it, you changed the voice of that photo, then I feel like it's ethically okay. In terms of other sources that are outside of portraits, like animals or things like that, oftentimes it's the animal that's giving the voice, not the photographer. Sometimes, now true, the photographer caught the animal at the right moment, but really the voice is coming from that animal. So I feel like there's a little more leeway when it comes to other things besides just humans. I feel like there's more leeway with animals. Yeah. But a good rule of thumb is just ask yourself, is this truly my art, or did I take a photographer's voice and just was a good artisan and craftsperson and replicated it? And then, of course, you do not want to use other people's artwork as a source. No. That is not okay to, find a painting that you really love and then, duplicate it. Unless you're doing that just simply for the purposes of study and learning. Personally, I think it's okay. Some artists don't like that at all. I don't care for the purpose of learning if somebody were to copy my piece. Now, if they pass it off as their own and they make it sound like they created it and they're selling it, that's really wrong. But if they're just trying to learn, I think it's fine. A lot of schools actually teach their students by copying the masters, like Rembrandt and or even Monet, like more modern masters. So are we dry yet, do you think? Pretty dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to switch places?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start oil painting here, and I'm going to start with glazes. Also, a lot of people ask us what kind of brushes do we like, and Dimitra and I are in complete agreement on this. There is no difference of opinion at all whatsoever.
Wait, are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm being completely unsarcastic. I'm just saying we share the same love of the same brushes. I mean, I think our favorite brushes are, this company is getting a free plug from us, so I don't know, they should send us a check or something. But silver brush, it's like the best. So this brand, Silver Brush, these look like they've been to...
this is a different one. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Silver Brush is a really great brand. They have a lot of very good quality brushes, but we both love Filberts.
Yeah.
Filberts. So that is kind of long, we like a little bit stiff here, but then soft at the end, and the round, especially for portraits, because as you can see later, you can just literally plant the brush stroke, boom, done, one little plant. If I had a square, I don't even have a square here.
Yeah, we don't.
They're 100% Filberts because we feel really strongly about that. But if I had a square brush and I were to plant it there, I would have a square on a cheek. And, stylistically, maybe that's what you want. So there really is no wrong or right. We just feel really opinionated and strongly about Filbert brushes.
Also, my favorite brand is the Robert Simmons White Sable. This one is really, really good, and they have a lot of different sizes, and the tips are really soft, so yeah.
Okay, so that's that on brushes. Don't mind that noise, that's just a dog, a big giant doodle, and so...
She's sad.
Oh. Okay, so we have galkyd here. It's a medium that you use for glazing. You can also use liquid or galkyd gel or any kind of glazing medium. Also I need to explain how I have my palette set up here. That's pretty important. So this is oil paint, and as you can see, I have yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet. So I have the primary and tertiary colors here. I have a few examples of each one, so I don't just have one red or one yellow. I have a few. It's a mixture of transparents and opaques. I kind of know the difference because I have them memorized, but this is like a transparent red versus an opaque red. So opaque, of course, means you can't see through it. That means you can't glaze with it. It is not transparent. The transparent colors, if you add a glazing medium to them, it'll be like seeing through glass. It'll be like stained glass. So those are the colors that you would glaze with. If you add any opaque to a transparent, it's no longer transparent. It is now opaque. So you have to keep that in mind. So just think about a glass of water, a glass of milk. If you pour some of the milk into the glass of water, what happens to the water? It's cloudy, you can't see through it. So also, I like to arrange my paint this way from yellow to violet because then we have the complements, yellow and violet are a complement, orange and blue are a complement, and green and red are a complement. So when we teach you about mixing flesh tones, that's how you're going to mix, is on these complements. So it's all set up for you. Also, as you can see over here, I have the exact same thing: yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet. So why do I have so much paint? Why is there so many colors out? Demetra, do you paint with these many colors?
Yes, or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
So we like lots of variety of different colors. And so these are all my cool colors right here, and these are all my warm colors. So the whole thing about yellow, orange, red being warm and green, purple, blue being cool, just forget that. That's something completely different. Just throw that out the window. So in every color family, there's warms and there's cools. So in other words, there's cool yellows, there's warm yellows, there's cool oranges, there's warm oranges, and so on. And how do you know which is which? Well, you can go to another plug, you know, these guys should give me some money too. Gamblin website, so gamblincolors.com. They make paint. They're a fabulous company out of Oregon. We love their paint. We use their paint almost exclusively here. They have a color chart on their website, and I'm sure that somebody's going to put the link up for you. Of that color chart, and all you have to do is click on it, and it'll tell you every single color that it's a common color. There's some weird obscure colors that it won't be on there, and whether they're warm or they're cool. So why do you care if they're warm or cool? This is why. All the cool colors recede. So it happens on a molecular level, and it has to do with how the electrons move around the nucleus. They either move endocentrically or exocentrically. So if they move endocentrically, they're a cool color, and they're receding visually as you look at them. So in other words, the background here, we would want to paint with cool colors because we want those colors to recede. Even if I painted the background bright orange, but I did a cool orange, it would recede. It would move away from you. The warm colors move exocentrically on a molecular level, so they visually look like they're coming towards you. They're very forward moving. So the things like the tip of the nose, right here on the lips, the chin right here, this butterfly, anything that's forward from us, we would want to paint with warm colors. That way it pops forward, and then your artwork is dimensional and looks like there's all this depth in there, and all your colors are alive. So if you don't know about warm and cool, and you start mixing warm and cool together willy-nilly, and you know, just like with no plan, you'll neutralize all your paint, because some of your paint's moving this way and some of your paint's moving that way, and it basically stays static and doesn't go anywhere. So that's how you get mud. Now, I don't like for color mixing, formulas or percentages, because I feel like that gets you in your left brain, and we want to avoid that. You want to be in your right brain. So if you set up your palette like this, and you put your cools on one side and your warms on the other, then as long as you mix warms with warms and cools with cools while you're kind of first starting out in this, you cannot make a bad color. You cannot mix mud. You cannot mess it up. There's no way you're going to make a bad color. So that's what I recommend if you don't know much about warm and cool, is separate your paint and only mix warms with warms, cools with cools. Now once you get good, you can start and used to this, then you can start mixing them intentionally, and you can have neutrals, you can have warm neutrals, you can have cool neutrals, and you can have all the variations in between. And one day after you practice enough, it'll just be automatic. We have online students that start their oil class in September, and by Christmas they're fluent. By Christmas they have all their warms and cools down. They don't even think about it anymore. So isn't that great? So it's definitely worth putting the time into. So now I'm going to glaze, and I'm going to start with cools, and I'm also starting light to dark. So transparents are light to dark. So, so I'm just glazing here, kind of cools around the edges. So, Dimitra, what do you want to talk to them about while I'm doing this?
So I can kind of explain like what you're doing, and then
that's great. When I have to talk and paint, I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay. So she's starting with transparents and of course light to dark, and then as she's you got to move a little bit.
Okay.
So once she'll probably glaze like probably 50 to 60% of this. And then she'll start adding opaques, and okay, I'm sorry. So then she'll start adding opaques, and when she starts doing that, she's gonna go dark to light. So it's the opposite. When you start adding opaques, you wanna do dark to light, and you wanna do your highlights very last. So it's really important that in portrait painting, as you're placing your brush strokes, and we always teach our students to use a lot of brush strokes and not to blend everything, because a lot of people, they get freaked out about leaving their brush strokes, and they think the second they put paint down they have to mush it and blend it with everything else, and then it just becomes this flat, boring portrait, and usually it comes out cartoony. So we always tell people to just leave their brush strokes, and the best way to learn how to do that is you have to learn about plane shifts. So in every face, you will see a lot of plane shifts, and so can I say the source, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she blocking it?
Am I blocking it?
Okay, maybe not. So on the face, there's tons of plane shifts. So like wherever there's like here is her cheekbone, so that is one plane shift. On her nose is another one. So every time you're placing a brush stroke, you want the brush stroke to go with the plane shift. If you just are randomly placing brush strokes, it's going to look very confusing and like you don't know how to paint. So you want to make sure that your brush strokes go with the plane shift. And the best way to do that is you slowly are building your highlights. So you start with the midtones and darks, and then you end with the highlights. So you'll start seeing her doing that. And right now she's just blocking in all the dark to make that look really dramatic, like she's emerging from the dark. So I think it's looking pretty cool.
Oh, you know what I forgot is a rag.
Oh. Well,
I see one right there.
Paper towels.
There's one right up there.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, when you're oil painting, use a cotton rag. It's really important. If you use paper towels, you're not going to actually get your brush clean. So the only thing that can get your brush clean is a cotton rag. And if you don't clean your brush, then it's hard to keep your warms and cools pure.
Also, I just wanted to say that when you are painting, and it can be anything, not just portraits, but it's a really good habit to have, to let a lot of your brush strokes show and just get in the habit of just placing a brush stroke and leaving it and not touching it. And that just makes your artwork a lot more sellable, and people really just, when they're buying art, they love to see the brush strokes. They feel your emotion that you put into it. Like, your brush stroke capture your energy when you placed it. So if you're smoothing everything out and making it all this blended like skin tones, then you're just losing that magic of it. So you want to make sure that you leave your brush strokes, and you can stack them and layer them, and you want to vary them, so you don't want to have them all be the same size. You want to use different brushes, and it's best to start with big brushes first, like she was doing, and now she's moving to a smaller brush, and then you finish with little details at the very end. And a lot of people just like to go for the fun stuff, like the eyes or little details, and do that first, but you want to make sure that you do that very last. It's looking really good. I think you should add some more drips, maybe.
I wonder if we could paint at the same time and go faster. Or we'd be in each other's way.
I don't know.
We've never done it before. We could try it. No? Bad idea.
Well, I just feel like it's a little bit
Chaotic.
small. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was first starting painting, I actually avoided painting portraits. It was really difficult for me, and I mean, I was only like 11 or 12 at the time, and it just scared me to paint someone's face. And I remember very specifically, one of the very first portraits I did was actually a self-portrait, and she was teaching the class. So I was doing a self-portrait, and I remember crying several times during that class, and it was just really hard for me. I really hated the way it was coming out, but I just persevered and kept doing it, and she helped me a lot. And by the end of it, I had this painting that I was really proud of. And since that time, I just pushed myself to keep trying it. Even though I didn't really enjoy it, I just kept trying it. And then now it's my favorite thing to paint. So, I mean, I just love painting people. And so if it's something that's always scared you, or you feel like maybe it's something you can't do, just know that anyone can learn how to do it. And if you really want it, you can learn how to paint portraits in a really beautiful way.
Okay, so let's talk about skin tones real fast, because I'm going to switch to opaques for a little bit, and then Dimitri, you're going to work on opaques. When you're starting with kind of the lighter tones, I'm going to kind of go for a mid-tone. I am going to start with this white, and then I'm going to take two opposites. So I have this yellow here, and then I'm going to mix a little bit of the violet into it. And you don't want to use a ton of paint. You know, if you just use a little bit, you can turn the color. But if you put a big blob of paint, you're going to end up with a big mess. So as you can see very quickly, I got a skin tone. Now if I want to change that up a bit and kind of make it a little pinker, then I can just add some red to it, and now it's a little pinker. I can also start with a new base. So this is orange here. So what's the opposite of orange? Blue. So now I have blue, and I'm putting a little bit of blue in there, and look, I have another skin tone. Now it's kind of more violet or more blue than the yellow and the purple. So that's the whole point. So green and red look about like this, and then you can add a little white to it, and then you have another skin tone. So also, a lot of times for really light ones, I just like to use all of, I'll just mix yellow, orange, and red together and get kind of a peachy color. So Let's start with some opaques. I already have a lot of darks on there, so I'm going to kind of just begin with a little bit of
Mid-tone.
a mid-tone. And also what Demetria was just talking to you about, planting a brush, you can just kind of look at your source, see that plane shift. So right here on the corner of the cheek, there's a plane. So there's a plane right there where it turns, and then it comes forward here. So I can just plant the brush and just leave it. So you don't want to, start blending and smoothing, or stab and dab, right? You want to just kind of put a brush stroke down, and then leave it next to it. So, and that's it. So plant a brush stroke and leave it. Plant a brush stroke and leave it. Okay? So, and you can be a little bit expressive with your colors. You don't have to, stay with everything that's in there. So now I'm going to switch to cool and kind of cool that cheek off as it turns back here. So as you can see, this here folds back. So I'm going to put a cool there for that part.
Hey, people were wondering if you guys would provide a list of the products, or if you guys could explain like what you're thinking into.
Okay, well, so galkyd, a lot of it is Gamblin. Like I said, we use a lot of Gamblin. So Gamblin makes galkyd and...
Careful of the microphone.
Oh, psh, psh, psh. Sorry. So that's the medium we're using. Tell them about the solvent.
So this is our thinner or cleaner that we're using, and this one's really different and special. So at our school, we only use this, and this is a citrus thinner made from orange peels. So it's not really toxic to breathe in. So it's really great for when you're just painting indoors, and it has like barely no smell at all. So it's a little bit more expensive, but that's what we like to use. And it's the brand is Eco House, and it's called Citrus Thinner. And we can put a list of all the other things we're using. In this webinar, we can put a list at the end of the webinar. We'll put it under the video.
So let me know, when do you want to jump in there?
I can do it now.
Yeah?
I mean, do you want to work on the moths a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, but we're kind of more interested in... Also, so I'm going to let you go in there in just a second.
Okay.
But also right here at the mouth, how I do mouths with warm and cool is I always like to put cool here at the edges, and then warm in the center. Because if you think about a mouth, it's coming towards you right here, but as it goes back in these corners, it recedes. And then of course that line in the middle is going to recede. And the teeth, if you ever paint teeth, do not do them worn, because it'll look like a horse teeth coming out at you. So it's really important that those are cool. Okay, so it's hard to let go. I just want to keep painting.
I know, it's fun.
But I guess I'll let you do it.
It's my turn.
Your turn. Okay, so let me see. So Caroline McFarlane is asking, at what point do you plant brush strokes and leave them? Earlier on, you were not doing that. So earlier on, I was glazing, And that is just basically sweeping through with a transparent big brush. It's really fast. Then when I started putting the opaques down, I just left the brush. What a lot of people do, which is kind of what Dimitra was getting at, is there's this kind of left brain control where you want to control everything. And so you have this kind of default mode of smoothing out everything and blending everything. Somehow just putting a big drip like that, or a big brush stroke like that, or this big brush stroke here on the forehead feels terrifying, and you want to blend it all in so it's not so noticeable. But you have to resist that, and after you stack a few of those brush strokes on top of each other, and you're almost optically mixing skin tones, because you might have a skin tone that's got a bluish tint to it, and then you can stack on top of it an orangish one, and then on top of that a purpley one, and then a yellowish one. And so the stacking of these brush strokes is what's going to really make it look lifelike and like a real painting. So so at what point do you just leave the brush stroke? I would say as soon as you're painting with opaque paint, which is what Dimitra's doing now and what I was doing for just a little bit.
And it's okay to blend some areas. We're not saying like the entire thing has to be all different brush strokes, but you want to have, where it counts, you want to have your brush strokes show.
Shari Berry asked, could you also list the pear color you use? So maybe she can write what she means by that. I don't know if that's a typo or I'm just not getting it. Maybe she means the two complements that I used.
Yeah.
Basically, any complement. So if you look at a color wheel, whatever's opposite on the color wheel, like yellow and violet are opposite, green and red are opposite, blue and orange are opposite. So any of those opposites or complements are going to make a brown, basically. Brown, basically a created brown with white is how you get flesh tone. So while we're talking about flesh tones, I want you to notice something. On this palette, there is no brown. Do you see that there's no brown? We didn't squirt out brown. We didn't squirt out burnt sienna. We didn't put Van Dyke brown, burnt umber, raw umber. There is no brown to be seen on this palette. I rarely paint with browns, especially if I'm doing skin tones. One of the most, I think one of the things you really don't want to do when you're painting portraits is use brown. So like burnt sienna and white, will give you a fast skin tone, but it's kind of boring and redundant. If you create your own flesh tones with complements, it looks a lot more sophisticated. You can get a lot more nuances. You can create a multitude of colors by just having a few representations of yellow, red, green, and so on. So I would not advise using any brown. You want to create those browns. Right, Dimitra?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever use brown?
Well, I do, but I also have...
You mix color into it.
Yeah, I always mix color into it. And I think for when you're first starting out and learning about mixing flesh tones, this is like the best way to learn that, because I remember, like, I was just thinking about it when I was first starting out and doing my first portraits. You were forcing me to do it this way, and I was very resistant to only having these colors, and I wanted to have browns because that's what I was used to, but I learned really quickly when you don't have brown, you have to make up for it, and so you learn how to use different colors to make these flesh tones. So it really helped me understand how color works, so I'm really grateful for that.
Let's see, how do I scroll here? So feel free to ask questions, or if there's anything, even if you repeat your question because we missed it, that's fine, because I haven't been so good at reading this while I've been painting. Somebody asked how to clean your brushes, especially if you have medium on them. Having plenty of solvent in your jar. So as you can see, there's lots of solvent in here. We used clean solvent, so we didn't start with already muddy, mucky solvent. So the solvent itself will clean your brushes really good. And how I think the best way to clean a brush is you kind of slam your brush at the bottom, and then you scrape it against the side to get all the excess off, like this. And then really it's your cotton rag that cleans your brush. So at the end, if you know you're going to paint the very next day in oil or in a few hours, that's good enough. I just leave my brush like that. I don't do anything else. It's clean. If I put it on my hand, there's no color coming off. It's clean. Now, if I'm gonna leave go out of town and I'm not gonna paint for a while, then I would take this brush, I'd squirt like dishwashing soap in the palm of my hand because it's a degreaser, and then I would go like this with my brush and get it all soapy and lathery, and then I would rinse it underwater, and it is perfectly clean. It never hardens up. It doesn't, and then you can kind of smooth out the bristles like this and reshape it, and it'll dry that way, and your brushes will stay really nice. So that's the way that I clean brushes. So you can stack warms and cools. So if you want a neutral area, so it's not popping forward, it's not really receding back, it's kind of somewhere in between. This area right here is usually pretty neutral, whereas I use cools for here and back in here. Then you can either plant a cool down and then put a warm right on top of it, and that'll kind of optically make a neutral. Or if it dries and you come back the next day and you had a cool underneath and then a warm on top, that's definitely another thing. What you don't want to do is, without purpose or intent and not understanding to the degree that you're pushing something to warm or pushing it to cool, just mix and neutralize your color and not think about it. That's going to get you a bunch of colors that don't really move one way or the other. It'll almost look like an acrylic painting. By the way, speaking of acrylic, acrylic doesn't have the warm and cool property. That's only with watercolor, gouache, and oil paint. Oh. If you sell a piece that is referenced from another person's photo, is it legal, or to paint someone's specific face from memory and sell it? So I covered that in the beginning of the webinar, so in case you missed it, anytime you take a photograph and you turn it into an oil painting, legally speaking, you can do that. There's no copyright violation. It's not ethical though. You don't want to steal a photographer's voice. You don't want to copy other people's artwork. So if you change it and you alter it and kind of give it your own voice, you're blocking the camera. And you kind of give it your own voice, then I think it's perfectly ethical. And of course, if you paint somebody's face from memory, I mean, you know, you're an artist, you're allowed to paint anything that you see. So people don't own their face and they can't control. I know it sounds weird, like who doesn't own their face, but if I see somebody I really want to paint and I start to paint them, they can't tell me I can't paint them. You know, you're free to paint whatever you want.
Sumya Peruri wants to know, do you both have the same type of process? And sometimes it is very overwhelming to understand when to stop adding the brush strokes. How do we know if a painting is finished or not?
Okay, those are super good questions.
Yeah.
So somebody asked, first of all, how do you know when your painting is finished? And they also asked if Dimitra and I paint in the same with the same techniques. and how do you know when to stop adding brushstrokes, or how do you know when your painting is finished? So I know when my paintings are finished when it's reached the level of completion that I'm satisfied with, and usually the same level of completion. Although sometimes I'll focus on one area and really render that out strong and leave something sort of looking unfinished or thinner or more abstracted. So I think that you know, when you've sort of dealt with everything and you've been intentional about every part of the painting and it's exactly how you want to leave it, then it's finished. Also, a very important finishing principle is edges. And so if you look at this, some of the edges are blurry as they go back. You know, back here in the head area, you want your edges to be really blurry as they recede. Whereas things that are closest to us, you would want really sharp. So being intentional and careful about your edges and kind of reviewing all your edges and making sure that they are just as you wanted it is really important. And it's sort of that last finishing touch that makes your paintings look complete.
And to answer, did you answer his question about how we paint the style?
No, yeah, I didn't.
Well, we use like very similar techniques. Like I definitely paint in the warms and cools just like she does. And we both really enjoy oil painting, and we both agree that oil painting should always be the last layer of a painting. We don't just do acrylic and then say it's done. We always add a layer of oil. So most of the time our processes are really similar. But we do have our own techniques.
She's more drippy than I am. She likes drips, and she works thinner in the beginning and then thicker at the end. I probably use more acrylic in the beginning and move to oil after I've done an acrylic underpainting. She tends to start with oil a lot of times and paint thin to thick. So we definitely have some differences in how we paint for sure. But also a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and we both have our techniques available as instructional videos too, so if you're interested in learning both of our techniques, she has hers and I have mine, and they're on our school website, milaninstitute.com, so you can see we have lots of different instructional videos on there, and yeah, and there's even bundles, so we have like a bundle with oil painting essentials, and then my own personal technique, and we have a mix. Is your mixed media one with that, or?
Oh no, they're separate.
And then she has her mixed media technique with collage and spray paint and oil. So we have lots of cool things if you want to check those out.
So all the links are under this webinar. You can find them. Yeah. And also, I don't know if you know this, but we just released a brand new instructional video all about portraits. And so there's 5 lessons. Is it 5 lessons or?
Yeah,
okay. 5 lessons in this kind of package of all about portraiture. And she and I both teach it, and there's a lot of things we've taught here that
more in depth though.
We go more in depth in that video. So if you're really excited about portraiture, I highly recommend that you check that out. And also, if the warm and cool wasn't quite, I don't know, like, you know, you want more and it wasn't quite clear enough for you, our oil essentials, it's kind of like our it's not basic, because we've heard a lot of oil painters that have been painting oil for many years like learn brand new things from it and learn a lot from it, but it's foundational. It's like the backbone of our school is these oil essential oils these oil essential techniques, and so the warm and the cool, we go in depth in that, and that's a really great product too. So let's see, we aren't quite done with this, but I don't think we're gonna have time to totally finish it. So hopefully you get the idea of that sort of stacking of brush strokes and just leave it and let your marks be seen. Let it be expressive. Don't cover it all up. Don't blend. Be bold. You know, my theory is you can always tighten up a piece of artwork, but have you noticed that once it gets really tight and really blended and, you know, really, accurate and tight, you can't get loose again. It just, that painting will never go loose. So I always reserve for the very, very end, the final touches, to get it really rendered out and really tight and have all those fine details in them, because I may not want them. I might want it to stay really loose. So you can always go tighter, but once you have it nice and tight, there's no way you can go loose again. So really hold back and try not to get tight. And we never hear artists tell us, oh, if only I could just be tighter. I'm just far too loose. You know, I never hear artists tell me that. I always hear the opposite. They can't stop themselves from getting tight and getting their little brushes and making it all perfect. So it's really a I don't know, an art. It's a good freeing discipline to not do that and to let those brush strokes show. And don't be afraid of dripping paint. Don't be afraid of, sort of aggressive marks. That's really what makes the portrait painting art, and kind of transcend that portrait feel and look like a symbol. So if there's any more questions, we would love to answer some.
Did you start a painting with a strong drawing foundation? So she might not have seen it in the beginning, but we did start, or does she mean?
Maybe she just means in general. Okay. I think you do need a strong drawing foundation. Absolutely. Drawing is like the scaffolding to everything. You have to know how to see. You have to know proportion. Drawing is definitely very important. But even when you're painting and you're going along the way in painting, you're still drawing. You're still measuring. You're still seeing. You're still adjusting things and working your way towards accuracy. It's not so important that, one most important thing is that your painting does not have to look beautiful all the way through. I mean, let's face it, this is going to look more beautiful when we're finished. It's in its ugly stage. So every painting has an ugly stage, and you can't get upset about that and try to get it all tight and accurate. So yes, it's good to start with a good drawing, but it's not always necessary. In fact, in our portrait painting essentials course, the instructional video that goes, in great depths with portrait painting, there's a technique on there that we teach where there's no drawing to start with. You literally start, we call it a monster portrait. So you literally start with blocking in big, drippy, out of control shapes, and you spend your time working your way towards refinement. So in that video, you watch us paint and basically turn this drippy, gooky monster into a nice portrait that's all in proportion. And that is a fantastic technique, and there is literally no drawing involved. It's all 100% painting.
Okay, is there any other questions? Let's see. I'm glad you're inspired. Some people are asking who this is. A few people were asking that. So this is my sister, Dahlia, and I took the picture in Greece.
She was actually sitting on a boat and complaining and being cranky. And so, but look at how beautiful she looks when she's cranky. It's like, it just captures this moody, amazing moment. And I've actually painted this like a bunch of times. This shows up in my artwork. This one cranky picture of her on a boat has showed up, and her hair is like all wild and from the sea and the salt in the sea. So I love this picture. And if you want to know how I get my sources, this is what I do. I troll my kids' Facebook and Instagram, and I watch them post pictures of themselves, and then I nab them. So that's mostly where I get my sources, is I steal them from their Facebook pages or whatever. Or if they've ever done a photo shoot, I take all their leftovers, because usually I like their leftovers more than the ones that, and sometimes I order them up too, I'll say, I need a few of you that you're doing this, you're doing that, and then you take them for me, and then I use them. So I usually like to paint my kids, my daughters. So
okay, someone's asking, Dimitri used some bright blue in the portrait. How do you know where to use those colors? Is it based on values? And I think it's fun to put some bright color in there. You don't want to put it everywhere, but it is kind of based on values. So usually a bright color reads as a highlight, and so you're not going to put that just anywhere. But I had this blue, which is a cool on the edge of the face, just as kind of like a reflective light.
And you wouldn't put that blue everywhere, or bright crazy color everywhere, because then it wouldn't look like a natural skin tone.
Unless you want to have
it's like an accent painting or something. Yeah. Also, you got to be careful around the eyes. Sometimes blue around the eyes is good, like turquoise or things like that. If you have too much red around the eyes, then it looks, the portrait can look a little tired. So where you want red is in the mouth and the cheeks and the ears, so kind of in this area. And then where you want kind of violet and blue, not green blue like a bruise, but like violet and blue is in the eyes as kind of an accent.
Someone's asking, which software do we use to make our sources look like double exposure? So we use different apps, and one that we really like is called Pixelmator, and a lot of times we create like a layered image like this one. So we just added different photos, and it's kind of like Photoshop. Pixelmator is a very similar app to Photoshop.
Okay, and so somebody's asking about a little more detail about the portrait course. So it is 5 lessons, and we do both drawing and painting on there. So somebody earlier was asking about drawing and if that's foundational, and again, we think it is. So we teach you how to draw. Dimitra teaches how to draw a profile. I teach a lesson on there about the individual features and how to find those plane shifts that we were talking about, how to build the structure of the face. We teach both from photographs and also from live models. So in the video we have a live model. Again, Dahlia, I guess I like to paint Dahlia. And we're painting her, or no, we're drawing her. And then we have some painting courses also included in that. So there's a lot of projects in there. There's a lot of learning. I think it's like something that you could get and watch over and over again, and keep learning from. There's multiple projects that you could do out of it, and it's really cool because we just released it what was it, like 2 weeks ago
or less?
Yeah, not very long ago. And we've already seen people that have done the course and they're posting what they have done, and it blows our mind. It is so thrilling to see people really learning these things that we're putting together, and how incredible they're able to paint after they've seen it. And we've even seen before and after pictures of people with the drawing, and we see what they drew before and then what they drew after, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's a really, really great product. And so do we want to talk about
the surprises?
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna do it, or I get to do it? How come you get to do it every time?
Okay, you do it.
I want to be Santa Claus this time. Okay, so we have 2 surprises. Okay, you do the first surprise and I'll do the second one.
Okay. So I don't know which one's first.
Okay, I'll do both of them. So our first surprise is that we are offering a promo code, which is, let me write it down for you. Of course, I need a pen to do that. Let's see. So the promo code where you will get 30% off, which is huge, of the instructional video portrait painting essentials. And so this is the promo code. If you enter this promo code in the next 24 hours, then you get 30% off of that price. And
this is for the portrait painting essentials, right? Yeah. Just that product.
And then you'll get 20% off through Friday. So, but don't miss it. You don't want to miss the 30%. That's better than 20%, obviously. And so that is a really, really cool deal. And we're super excited. And when you get it, please post or tag us after you have painted something, you've drawn something. We totally want to see it. We love seeing that. We have a Facebook page that's totally free for our online students and any students that are following us and are using any of these techniques they learned from us. It's called Milan Art Institute Private Training group, and so you can just send us a request and we'll let you in. It's a closed group, but if you request, we'll let you in. And then a lot of people are posting on there and getting feedback from each other. It's a really great community. So the link for all these things is under this webinar, and so you'll have like fast access to it so you can get that 30% off. And should we do the other surprise?
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't, so there's 3 surprises. Yeah, because, okay, so we are giving away this brush. So this brush is made by Silver Brush Company, the brush company that I was plugging, and they're totally getting free plugs from us because this truly is our favorite brush and there's no kickbacks here. So
yeah, I have to say this is like my favorite brush that I have. Yeah, and I think I have like 5 or 6 of them.
I should count mine. I have so many. I have every size they make. Yeah, I have like a lot of and I probably have like 2 or 3 of each of them. So this is a really nice big Filbert, and this is like the best brush to get those drips, those nice big brush strokes. If you start your portrait with a big brush like this, and then next kind of stack maybe with a brush like this, and then you can work down from there. So if you have like at least 4 or 5 different size Filberts, oh my gosh, you can make anything. You can make a really, really cool. So we are going to give this away to a lucky person, and we're paying for the shipping. You don't have to pay for anything. It's just a free gift. And so how you get the free gift is, help. How do they get the free gift?
Are we going to choose a random winner for the brush?
They're gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry. The dogs are howling, and that's very loud.
Oh, right. Okay, so we're gonna post in Milan Art Institute on the Facebook page, and all you have to do is share it. All you have to do is repost it and share it. And so anybody who shares our post, which will probably feature this painting finished, so you'll get to see it finished. That'll be fun. And anybody who shares that, we're going to do 2 drawings. One will be for this brush, and we will send it to you. So we'll do a drawing, and then the other winner will get this painting. So that is huge. It's an original painting in oil. Yeah, and so before we give it, we're going to finish it completely. It'll dry, signed, varnished. A collaborative piece me and Dimitri have done with Dahlia, my daughter, her sister. So really, really cool piece. Whoever gets that, I feel like is really getting something really special. So make sure that you repost, make sure that you share, and then your name will go into this drawing, and you will get either the brush or the portrait, and we will pay for the shipping.
And we're going to post that right after this webinar. So just be on the lookout for that. So that will happen immediately.
Okay, so then they won't see it totally finished. Maybe we'll like post right after and then...
We'll finish it and it'll be a surprise.
Okay.
Post right after.
So we're going to post right after. So look for that and share it. And as soon as you share it, your name will go into the drawing. When are we doing the drawing though? When is that happening?
Thursday, 8 p.m.
Oh, okay. Thursday, 8 p.m. is when we are going to announce the winner. And we're going to do it live on our Instagram, on our Facebook
Yep.
page.
Pacific Standard Time.
Oh, Pacific Standard Time. We're very professional.
So thanks you guys for watching, and make sure that you check out our instructional videos, and we're very excited to see you guys paint some new portraits with these techniques. So thank you for watching.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience, you guys, in the beginning. Sorry it was rough with the internet. But we really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing your artwork. Make sure you post it, tag us, and we are so excited for you to get that portrait video series. You guys are going to love it.
Bye.